Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast brought to you by PrizePicks. That's right, PrizePicks is America's #1 app for daily fantasy sports. It's the best place to win cash while you are watching sports as well. Make sure you download the PrizePicks app with the link in our YouTube description of this episode. It'll take you straight to the app. And if you're a new user, sign up for PrizePicks with the code HMA. That's letters HMA. Because when you set up your first $5 lineup, you play that lineup. If you win, you will get $150 in bonus lineups. All you got to do is set up your first lineup. And if you win, that's another $150 in your account. The app is super easy to use when it comes to creating a lineup. We'll talk about more of that later on in the show, but big thanks to PrizePicks. I love using it. I'm especially excited to use it for football season. Speaking of football season, we are at the 4th football practice in a row for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's what we're going to talk about on today's Pewter Report podcast, but specifically the man of the last almost 24 hours, Vita Vea. He spoke today after signing his contract extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some really powerful stuff as well that I think will intrigue a lot of Bucs fans. Vita Vea is not the most talkative guy. He doesn't love being in front of a camera, but he let it all out for everybody today, which was really cool to see. So we'll kind of break down the ins and outs of his press conference. Heard from Benjamin Morrison as well. I thought that was intriguing. We all know the frustrations and the trials and tribulations of him. So it was good to hear from him as well. And we'll talk a little bit about practice. We got a fun one in store for everybody. I'm your host, Matt Matera, and I'm very excited to say, joined with me this afternoon, live from Tampa, Florida. He is one of my top 6 favorite people to work with at Pewter Report. Yes, he is in the top 6. It is Josh Queipo, our cap guru, film analysis master, and just an awesome dude all around. Josh, welcome back to Tampa. It was great seeing you this morning, and even more awesome doing the show with you this afternoon.
Dude, this is awesome. I love it. Top 6. Top 6. I made it.
You're in the top 6, as is Bailey, as is Sly, as is Scott, as is Kat and Leah and everybody. Maybe I did my math wrong, but yeah, everyone's in the top 6. So congrats on that statistic. Josh, this is right up your alley with everything that went on with Vita Vea over the last, again, it's not even fully 24 hours yet, but the last day, half a day with Vita Vea, signs on for a 1-year extension, an extra $30 million. But the way it works is that $6 million will be given to Vita Vea on his salary this year, and then the other 24 of it will be next year, and it is all guaranteed. Josh, your initial thoughts and reactions to this big news with Vita Vea staying in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, a huge win for Vea. There are some elements of this contract that I think are fair to the Bucs, but I think on the whole, and I wrote about it this morning, this was a big win for Vea on the negotiations. He held in, used that leverage plus the request for the trade, got the Bucs to the negotiating table, got more than just a raise on his salary this year, got an extra $6 million this year. So that was a 33% raise on what the Bucs were set to pay him, because he was supposed to get $18 million and it's now 24. Got all of that guaranteed, and then got all of his 2027 salary guaranteed. That's another $24 million. The 1-year $30 million APY, let's just break down that APY real quick.
Yeah.
That makes him the 5th highest paid interior defensive lineman in NFL, not in NFL history. I want to say 6th highest in NFL history because Aaron Donald's contract, but 5th among current players. So that's amazing. He's top 5 there. He's top 5 in cash this year now, and he's top 5 in cash next year as of right now if no other deals get done. Those are all huge wins, but the big thing is the guarantees, because, and I can't recall another time this has happened. Vea got $30 million in new money and got $48 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
He got guarantees above the new money. That is unheard of. So a lot of ways this is a big win for Vea. I think the one thing that is obvious from this deal, the Bucs did not want to go beyond 2027. And so they gave some concessions in other areas in order to get this done at just 1 year.
Yeah, I think that's why it was so important for both sides. Like, they really met in the middle in terms of Vea, because as much as it was about like getting a raise, I think it was just as much about, as Ronnie Dangerfield didn't get a lot of respect. And I think it came down to, you see left and right, Quinn Williams, Jalen Carter, all of these other defensive tackles are getting this big time money, and I get it. They're all younger than Vita Vea, especially Jalen Carter, and he's getting his first big contract after getting drafted. But Vita Vea has done all of the dirty work. He's done all of the little things and everything that's been asked of him. And even though he's getting older, like, he's only getting bigger and stronger, like playing more snaps and having a lot rely on him, especially with Kalijah Cansey missing so much of last season. He's got to be Will Smith at the end of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, looking around, being like,
where'd everybody go?
Where's my money? Where's my money? So I guess part of what I'm curious about too is, for like Vita Vea, now he's got the money. He gets like one more extra year. I almost wonder if he's going to be ready to retire after 2027, because why agree to just one more year if you can go into the season, presumably if you have anything near what you've done the past couple of seasons, there's got to be other teams lining up to sign him to, I don't know if it would be more money than what Tampa Bay just gave him, but maybe more years and a little more security in that sense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that he would probably not get as much money on the open market. It's a really interesting thing with these veteran contracts with guys who are underpaid on their old deal. We saw it with Dexter Lawrence. We see it with Vita. The Bucs overpaid Vita on the new money APY, just like the Bengals overpaid Dexter Lawrence on the new money APY. If you look at what these guys are getting versus their production and other contracts that are like it on the open in free agency, huge overpays. The reason for it is because the old money is undervaluing their true value. Mm-hmm. So the best way to look at Vea's value and what other teams would be willing to pay him is the effective APY. So $48 million over 2 years when you combine his old money and his new money, that's $24 million a year. So if Vea were to just wait out this year and then try and get a new deal next year, it'd probably be somewhere around $24 million, assuming no injury, assuming his play basically remains static from what it's been over the last couple of years. So in effect, he got $30 million extra on this extension, then waiting a year and the risk that comes with that, the injury risk, the fall off in terms of age risk, and he was able to secure $30 million, and again, guaranteed, right? Versus waiting till next year and then trying to get some type of multi-year contract where his APY is probably only $24 million. Who knows if he gets guarantees past 2027? So again, this comes back to Vea did really well for himself. I'm sure he does want to retire a Buck. I think the more obvious thing from this whole situation, and I do want to say, Vea, the number one thing for him, or I shouldn't say the number one thing, he really did want to stay with Tampa Bay. He asked for the trade because he was trying to create leverage. But I think the number one thing throughout all of this is Vea wanted to show that he could be considered a $30 million defensive tackle when you talk about those reporting numbers. And he did want to get 2027 guaranteed money immediately. And he succeeded on both of those fronts. As far as does he retire next year, I could see it. I mean, he's going to be 32 and a half, I think, when next year starts, somewhere around there. I could see that happening.
Leave it to the numbers guy to throw in the 0.5 on a number. Sorry, please continue.
He'll turn 33 next year. That's a better way of putting it. That's pretty advanced age for a defensive tackle. So he mentioned it during his press conference today. He really does want to retire a Buck. I think a lot of it comes down to how well he plays in 2027, and then he'll make a determination on where his body's at and where the team's at. because this is still a big inflection point in the for the franchise this 2026 season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we've been pretty optimistic about this team with how for certainly the pass rush has looked and the defensive side has looked. But yeah, I mean, another 8-9 season. I guess, I mean, he's guaranteed next year anyway. But yeah, if it looks like the ship is going down, I think Vea's made enough in his career where I don't think he needs to like slog along and continue with it if he doesn't want to, especially because he does have that Super Bowl ring. I want to give a shout out to Erica Deaver as well, who's a Pewter Report YouTube channel member, who said, can't wait to hear what Vita has to say. Can't wait to hear about Jack Pyburn. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about him. And she also says, can't wait to hear from Josh Queipo. Obviously, Queipo is Queipo, but a little pun there talking about the cap guru that is Josh Queipo that we're very excited to have on the show. Josh, if you were the Bucs, would you have agreed to this deal with Vita Vea, given the landscape of this entire team, what they want to do this year? And then I'll have a follow-up question about some of the other players that are also looking for deals with the Bucs.
Not with all of the details that have now come out with Greg Auman reporting that all $48 million is guaranteed. If it was 1 for 30 with the new money guaranteed, $30 million, which means all of his 2026 salary and $6 million of next year, I would have done that because it makes, again, the effective APY is fair. And it basically gives Vita a little bit of guarantees next year. It guarantees him a total of 30, and it gives the Bucs an $18 million option effectively for 2027. And that is where I would have tried to hold the line if I were Jason Light and Mike Greenberg. I'm not giving you more guarantees than the new money is overall. This is what we can do.
How about from this side of it with Vita Vea? With Ruben Bain here and David Walker, really, I think, exceeding expectations. And I get their outside linebackers. And then, you look at A'Shawn Robinson, this new addition, Kalijah Kancey, healthy for now, and hopefully he can sustain that. What does this – it almost feels like a new addition, but he's been here the whole time. But what does this return of Vita Vea mean for the entire team, but specifically the defense, the defensive line, and, the rotation they can have at D-tackle with A'Shawn Robinson, with DeMonte Capehart, how he looked in his first preseason game. I mean, Elijah Roberts, a sack, and a defensive tackle. Like, how much more, if at all, does your expectations get raised with Tampa Bay and the D-line specifically now that Vita is in tow and he's ready to go and we don't have to worry about any, holdout during the season?
Yeah, I love the depth, right? And I'll start with the front four there. The thing that I really, really like about this front four as it's constructed is they complement each other so well, right? And I think I've said this a few times before. Like, I think Ruben Bain's going to have a great first season. I don't know if the stat or the box score is going to necessarily reflect his actual impact. I could see Bain creating 13 sacks, but only 5.5 to 6 of them are credited to him. The other 7, 8 sacks are chaos that he creates that forces the quarterback into somebody else. And when you look at him and Kancey, I think they're quick winners who can disengage from blocks and clear blockers, create chaos, and then you have the pocket condensers in Vea and Yaya who can really condense things and make quarterbacks feel like they just don't have enough space to operate well. All of that, I think they just complement each other in this really awesome way that can be special. And then when you add in this second line, right, the 2 deep is so much better than it's been in recent years with Walker and AQM, with A'Shawn Robinson and Roberts. And I really loved what Capehart put on tape in that first game. Against the ones, right? Against your New York Jets, hit starting center Josh Myers just walked him right back into Cade Klubnik's lap. That was a real-time rep against a starting center in the NFL. And that's the guy who's going to be your DT5, right? That's great depth. right there. So very, very excited about this group and what they can be.
The other side of this, of course, with the money going to Vita Vea, we got this question yesterday on our emergency podcast. And thanks to everybody that showed out for the emergency podcast. We know it was kind of last second, but hey, that's the NFL. Breaking news happens at any moment. A lot of fans want to know, how does this impact some of the other contracts that the Bucs will have, maybe players they want to re-sign, especially like Yaya Diaby comes to mind. Of course, Baker Mayfield. Who's the other one? Cody Mauk, how that kind of impacts everything. Will one of these players end up being a cap casualty because of the money given to Vita and the money that he'll have next season with that $24 million? Is there anyone that it kind of gets impacted by the most with Vita Vea returning for next season?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a cap casualty. I will call it a cash casualty is probably the best way I can describe it. It does impact, because that's an extra $24 million that the team's going to be committing to Vea in actual cash. And, we've talked about it. We write about it. The salary cap is rarely the reason why a team will or won't do something. It's more often how much cash do they have and are they willing to spend? Ownership sets that budget. It's not anything that fans can find online, because every ownership group has a different amount that they're willing to spend. And the Glazers historically tie that to the salary cap. So before this deal with Vea, the Bucs already have about $210 million committed to their 2027 roster. You add this, you're now looking at close to $235 million. That doesn't include the $50 million for Baker. Now you're at $285 million. Next year, you're talking probably a $325 million cap. So if the Glazers are willing to spend about that much, you're running out of money quick.
Yeah.
And if Mauk returns to the level that he was at before he got injured, and with the guard contracts that just came out, Matthew Bergeron, Peter Skoronski, who's the kid up in Buffalo? His name is escaping me. These guards are getting $20 million or more now. Yaya Diaby, just by the nature of how the salary cap goes, if he doesn't get a contract right now, he plays about the level that he's been playing, he could be a $30 million player. 30 for Yaya, 20 something for Mauk, that you're now over the $325 million. So probably one of them goes, is the way that I kind of look at it. And if I had to guess, as long as Mauk gets back to the level he was at, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs let Yaya go. I think they should prioritize Yaya over Mauk, because Jason Light's better at getting offensive linemen than he is at getting edge rushers, and I would try and keep that defensive line intact.
What are you talking about? He just drafted Ruben Bain. It's like, well, like that was a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, because we saw that before, and I think it was Greg DeCruz in the comments kind of mentioned the last time that the Bucs re-signed a guard, it was probably Ali Marpet, and of course, famously, I shouldn't say famously, but the Alex Kappa was like a solid guard for this Buccaneers team. But hey, like eventually you can't pay everybody, and it was Kappa that ended up getting signed by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he got his money there. Yeah, that would be a tough one with Mauk, and it's a problem for down the road as well. I hate to bring it up too, but that option with Chris Godwin Jr., we'll see how Godwin does this year, but that's kind of a situation where if Yaya has a great season and Mauk does pretty well too, while like I don't want to say morally, but from the outlook of the team, this leader, Chris Godwin Jr., has been here for so long, but that money that could go to him next year, theoretically could go to some of these guys, right?
Absolutely. And that would be the one avenue where I could see that happening. But you would also be turning that Bucs receiver room into an almost exclusively very, very young group, right? Jalen McMillan would be entering his fourth year at that point, and he would be the veteran. But let's keep in mind, McMillan's entering year 3, but he's only taken a rookie's worth of games.
Feels like year 2, because of his injury last year.
Yeah, so then between him and Emeka entering year 3, and then you have Tez as well, and then Hurst, that's a really young receiving core.
Yeah.
that you're kind of setting yourself up for. So I would almost think at that point the Bucs may want to spend a little bit of money on a veteran receiver for that room. And if they do it, again, that's money away from Yaya, it's money away from Malk. There's a thin or a narrow path for them to be able to retain both players. It would require Chris Godwin to not be on this team in 2027. But I still think it's probably a low probability. They're probably gonna have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Bucs should do it. I'm just trying to
What's
lay out all the options for the team and for fans to understand as well. It's not going to be an easy decision for Jason Licht by any means. It's going to be a way more difficult decision with that than it necessarily was. Actually, it's not even close. The easy decision Jason Licht did have to make is to work with Briar Greaves Insurance. If you didn't know, Briar Greaves Insurance is what Jason Licht uses. The general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a Briar Greaves Insurance user. And if you're in need of auto insurance specifically, let Briar Greaves Insurance do the legwork for you. They will call Geico. They will call Liberty. They will search everywhere and find the best deal for you and your family and your situation. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on, whether that's auto insurance, but they also specialize in homeowners, flood, boaters, and business insurance as well. There's nobody better to work with than the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance. As I mentioned, Jason Licht uses Briar Greaves Insurance, so it should be great for you too. Visit their website, briargreavesinsurance.com, for more information, or you can give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. We're on with Josh Queipo, who, ever since he's come to Tampa this week, great stuff has happened. You got the Vita Vea contract that came through. Trevor Sikkema's working for NFL media now, which is awesome.
You're welcome, Trevor.
Yeah, you won a lot of money playing blackjack. Not to reveal too much information, or maybe not blackjack, but you won some money at the Hard Rock, which has been awesome to see. So things are looking up with Josh Queipo in town. And you and I and a couple other Pewter reporters were at the Bucs facility today, where we got to hear from Vita Vea, and we got a couple of clips that we'll play. But I'm curious, Josh, what stood out to you the most with Vita Vea specifically in the press conference with him, which we were inside for that. Everything else was outside. But your big takeaway or two from Vita Vea and his comments on his new contract.
Yeah, I think his excitement and enthusiasm for what this defense can be, and it sounds like he believes they have the pieces. I think he believes in Todd Bowles' vision. I think he was very, very adamant that Todd Bowles was not to blame for last year. He said, put it all on the shoulders of the players. He said multiple times, let me set the record straight on that. Mm-hmm. Thought that was very, very interesting. But he's excited for what the defense can be this year. And he had some really great things to say about Ruben Bain, about DeMonte Capehart as well, because we asked him specifically about Capehart, since Capehart was kind of playing the Vita role and the defense during their first preseason game. And even defensive line coach Marcus West. So it looks like he feels like the components are all there for the defense to really take a step forward this year.
Yeah, he hasn't been practicing, but the fact that he's been out there day in and day out, despite all of the quote-unquote saga that was going on with this contract, I think that resonated a lot. You know, he was like hand-fighting with certain players. He's got a very jovial nature about him, more behind the scenes than in person. He doesn't totally love being in front of the camera. That's why he wore sunglasses today. And I believe it was your question. It was a great question, talking about the ins and outs of playing the 3-4 defense, what he kind of shared with Capehart. And he mentioned that, you know, it's like a chess game out there, playing the defense and going against the offense, which was I thought some really great insight from Vita Vea. But yeah, the thing that stood out to me the most was Vita vehemently defending Todd Bowles and saying, like, you know, the narrative out there is that everyone blames Todd Bowles, and that's not the case. Blame the players. Because again, Vita doesn't talk that much. He doesn't really nominate himself to go in front of the media, like Bucs PR staff. They will ask other people before Vita. He doesn't really like doing it, and I get it. Not every player likes being in front of the camera. And for him, like, the question wasn't even really that much about Bowles. He's like, yeah, like, I think we're going to be good. By the way, this is how I feel about Todd Bowles. For him to, like, volunteer that himself was really telling. So let's get to this video. Vita Vea showing a lot of support for the TODD, Todd Bowles.
There's a bunch of stuff. I feel like kind of want to set the record straight. I feel like there's a lot of stuff going about on Bowles. I feel like none of it is Bowles' fault, and I feel like we all love Bowles. You can ask every player in the locker room. So that's one thing I want to set the record straight as. We all love Bowles. It's not what he's doing. You know, he's telling us what to do. He's giving us all the answers to the test, and it's on us players to be able to go out there and execute what he's telling us to do. So he's always putting us in the best position to play. So that's one of the main things, just being able to take coaching and in that light. So if anything is on, blame us players for not executing. Bowles always puts us in the best position to win games. I even told Bowles the day he retires, the day I retire.
I do wonder now if Todd Bowles retires, everyone's going to be like, what is Vita Vea?
So I was going to pose that hypothetical, right? Like, to you. I want to hear what you think. Let's say it's a storybook season for the Bucs. They win the Super Bowl. Todd goes, I retire. You think Vea passes up on $24 million guaranteed in 2027 to follow through on following Bowles into the sunset?
I do not. I don't think so. I think it was a little bit in jest what he said at the end there, even though everything else he said I thought was very meaningful. But yeah, money talks a lot. And I mean, people have said far more grand scheme things that have not come through or stuck to the word with that. So I'm taking that with a little bit of a grain of salt. I want to get to Vita Vea's opening comments as well about it being a little bit of part of the business, but he always wanted to be here regardless. And I think it was very telling as well. I don't believe it's in this video, but he got asked about, like, was there validity about requesting a trade? And he was just kind of like, I don't know. I think maybe my agent did. Like, there's bargaining tactics, and that's what it was.
Right.
Clearly.
The agent said you wanted to be traded, and then you ultimately end up staying here. I'm guessing that was your preference, is to remain with the Bucs.
Like I always wanted to be a Buc, and I wanted to be a Buc for life. So I'm glad that we were able to get this done. This is something that happens every year. It just also happened to be me this year. But there's just stuff that we both had to figure out on both sides, and we got it all squared away. So I'm happy we can put that all behind us and move forward from here on out. Yeah, it's just all part of the business. I got drafted here. I made my home. I made Tampa my home. I love it here. The guys on the team are like brothers to me. We look at each other's family. So I didn't want to leave that behind and switch teams and get traded. So that was never the end goal for me. I always wanted to be here.
And also, Vita talked about his excitement for rejoining this team that has new additions like Ruben Bain. David Walker was here last year, but we know his story. Al-Quadin Muhammad and A'Shawn Robinson.
I'm really excited. I think we have a few new pieces in our room in the D-line, and then obviously in the outside back room. Just seeing those guys and just being able to get close to them and pick everybody's brain. It feels good to just feel the camaraderie of everybody. And definitely what I've seen so far, it's definitely exciting to be a part of this. I think we have something special here, especially in our room. So you definitely feel that when you're out there in practice watching these guys and hearing or feeling the energy that they're bringing every day in practice. So it definitely feels good on my side to be able to be a part of that.
I like that last part. Definitely feels good on my side. Yeah, having Ruben Bain to the outside to you and all these other guys. So the next part of this on the field as it pertains to Vita Vea in the Bucs, Josh, is how quickly can he get ready? How fast can he ramp up and be ready to go against the Bengals? Where do they play again? How do you spell that?
I'm not going to spell it. You're mean for saying that. You're hilarious for saying
I'm just kidding.
For our viewers, it is a running joke.
Yes.
That I cannot spell Cincinnati.
It's not an easy word to spell.
To save my children's lives, I would get it wrong. The N's and the T's, I always screw up which one there's two of and which ones there's one of. To answer your question before you shot that stray at me. So the good news is, and Vea said it a couple different times in his press conference, he's been in this defense for 8 years. He knows the defense. And he actually appreciates kind of the way that camp has unfolded, where he's watched from the sidelines, because it's allowed him to engage with the defense more cerebrally, right? Yeah. Where he can see it from a different angle and be able to kind of process it a little bit differently. So from the mental standpoint, he feels like he's ready to go. Becomes the physical part, which Todd Bowles said, when we were talking to him today, the plan is for him to start practicing next week, and they'll ramp him up from there, with the goal being Cincinnati. I think Bowles did commit to Vita will not be playing in the preseason. Starters won't play the third game. He's definitely not going to be ready for Saturday. And so what I think will be interesting is, what does his workload look like week one? It's really fascinating aspect of, I imagine he'll be out there. He's probably not going to be ready to put in some of the heavy snap loads that he's had over the last several years, but they also have better depth this year, so maybe they don't need him to necessarily do that. Could it be that Vita's in on some critical third downs, almost like a package player week one?
Yeah.
And then as the season gets on, he catches up to everybody. And could that workload management actually work in the back half of the season for him and for the Bucs, keeping him a little bit fresher than again, he's had a heavy workload the last 2 seasons. So it's fascinating how it's going to evolve over the year.
Yeah, that's a great point. I almost feel like the amount of time he'll play against Cincinnati will almost be parallel to typically what a backup defensive tackle would play. But you'll see him on the field the first drive of the game, and fourth quarter, as you just mentioned, crucial moments. But that's the beauty of having Kalijah Cansey, Ashawn, and especially if Queipo and Elijah Roberts continue to build up their games, you won't need Vita Vea right away, which is a luxury for this team, where you can kind of get them along a little bit more. You got to be licking your chops to go up against the Bengals, though, to see how they've struggled kind of protecting Joe Burrow in recent seasons. But as long as Vita Vea is here for the long haul, that's the most important thing. Last video we'll get to Vita is him talking about what the plan is. Is he going to be ready for Cincinnati?
How do you feel physically, and just what I guess the goal is Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, that's the end goal, but I feel great. I've been doing this for 9 years now, so you kind of understand what to do. So I feel like the callus of hitting people is still there. I feel like it never really leaves. It's in you. But I've been in good shape. I have a good team trying it around me, so I feel like I'm ready to go, good to go. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know the plan yet. We'll still be able to discuss that over the next few days and figure it out from there.
So yeah, he doesn't know, but it seems like he's down for anything, really. We've got a couple super chats to get to, and a new Pewter Report YouTube channel member. Big thanks to What's Buckin'. Thank you so much for your support of Pewter Report and Pewter Report TV. Welcome to Pewter Report TV. Moving on to Laura of Lucas. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Says, does a brick wall really need practice? Of course, Vita did have that tweak in his back, which seems like he'll be good to go. Todd Bowles confirmed that, and Vita Vea confirmed that as well. I think we got to remember, the first game of the season isn't until September 13th. That's a lot later than it typically is, which really works into the favor of the Bucs this year than in other years where they've had, contract snafus with some of their top players.
No, absolutely. I don't have any real worries that Vita isn't going to be ready to contribute in the way that the team feels best when the season opens.
Yeah, I think that's fair. LDBC's Most Wanted. Thanks for the $4.99 super chat. We appreciate it. It says, I feel the front office and ownership are all in on this year by giving Vea this extension. Having Vea 2 more seasons will help Bain and Trotter develop. We've talked about Bain a lot, but Josh, like you and I had a conversation at practice today talking about just the gargantuan size of Josiah Trotter. So let's talk about him a little bit. What have you noticed from him, in that preseason game? And were you just mesmerized as much as I was about how this guy looks at practice today from the part of practice we were able to see?
Yeah, the thing that's that popped really quickly for me is Trotter just looks bigger in person than he does on tape. Like when I watch him on tape, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a linebacker, but maybe slightly on the smaller side, kind of mid range in terms of his build. And you see him up close, and it's like, no, that's a big dude. And then watching him on tape, I came away really impressed, really excited based on that first preseason game. I thought his ability to process was really, really next level. He was identifying the run calls based off of the line movement, not following the ball. He read his keys quickly. He got to spots quickly. He cut off run paths. He didn't try to make plays that he shouldn't have tried to make by chasing the ball and vacating his own gap. So everything from a run defense standpoint was just about what I would hope to see. Then, everybody, the next question is, yeah, but what about his coverage? He wasn't tested really that much.
Yeah.
The one real test, there was a play action, and he didn't bite hard. Like there was one step forward, quickly identified, no, I need to get out into the coverage. It was a boot, and he chased the flow of the play. He was fine getting out in the flats, covering backs. I think the man coverage stuff is going to be fine for him. Yeah, it comes down to how hard is he going to fall for play action once the bullets are real. But everything that I saw in preseason game 1, really, really excited about him. I think my draft eval was probably a little too low on what he could be versus what he's already showing.
I think he's impressed so much already. The moment doesn't seem too big for him. I love linebackers that play with like a violent nature on the field, and I noticed that in the joint practices against the Jets in New Jersey, and I thought it translated as well in the preseason game. Even seeing him just hit the pads, there's a little extra force to it than you see with some other guys. So, can't wait to see Josiah Trotter on Saturday. We're going to talk in a little bit about Benjamin Morrison, who has had some health problems with this team. But it's important for you as well, the listener watching and listening to this show. Make sure your health is right as well. Make sure you hack your health. Take control of your health and live better by visiting the Hack Your Health Expo on November 13th through the 15th in Tampa. Thousands of people will be learning from dozens of leading physicians, researchers, practitioners, innovators, and educators. What makes this event unique is simply the caliber of the speakers. It's the people who attend. Whether you're just beginning your health journey, looking to optimize your performance and longevity, or you're a healthcare professional seeking new perspectives, Hack Your Health brings together a community united by one belief: there is always another step forward. It's more than a conference. Hack Your Health is an immersive experience designed to inspire curiosity, meaningful conversations, and practical action. Throughout the weekend, attendees have the opportunity to learn from trusted experts, engage with innovative brands, experience emerging health technologies firsthand, and connect with people who share a passion for living healthier, more vibrant lives. For more information, visit hackyourhealth.com. And to register, use the promo code PEWTER100. That's PEWTER, the numbers 100 at checkout, and save $100 on your weekend pass. The Hack Your Health Expo is from November 13th to the 15th at the Tampa Convention Center. A couple more super chats to get to. Appreciate everybody rocking and rolling with us. Josh Queipo in the house this afternoon. This next one is from Bill Vincent. Thank you, Bill, with his $5 super chat. Says, if there are no injuries, who's the odd man out on the interior defensive line? Which ones can we sneak onto the practice squad? I have one name in mind, Josh, but who are you thinking?
Yeah, if they keep 6, I would say Vita, Cansey, Robinson, Roberts are all locks. I would say 5 and 6 are probably Capehart and Nacho. So that leaves Jason Jones, Elijah Simmons, Josiah Green as kind of your first 3 guys you're considering for the practice squad.
Yeah, I think Jones and Simmons are practice squad guys. I could see Nacho being on that practice squad as well as just more of like a motivational guy. We obviously know how loud Nacho can be. He's a guy that you can call up for some game days elevate him from the practice squad, depending on the opponent and what's going on with the health of the defensive line. I don't know how many teams would be trying to take Nacho from the Bucs on another team versus some of the other younger players out there. But good question. Appreciate the super chat, Bill. And then this one comes from Grizz Low. Thank you for the $20 super chat, Grizz Low. Mighty kind of you. Says, Vea said Todd wasn't responsible for last season. It was the players. But Todd had his mid-season slumps for years. Is it the front office fault getting bad players, or are the players holding Todd too high in regard?
I think for me, if you go back to 2024, the midseason slump coincided with a lot of injuries to the wide receiver room. If you go to last year, the midseason slump coincided with a lot of injuries to the offense in general. I think that context is important. And for me, when you look at a 17-game season, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And it just so happens that they ran into injuries, and both of those times were when they hit the hardest part of their schedule. And so I just think that it's coincidence more than anything that he's had these 3 years in a row with these midseason swoons. I don't really pay a ton of attention to that specifically. Yeah. Now, is it the front office's fault for getting bad players? You can talk about depth. Did they have the best depth over the last couple of years when Tyrick Funderburk is taking snaps as your outside corner and Josh Hayes is taking snaps as your outside corner? You're going to give up some passes. You're going to give up some yards. You're going to give up some scores. So there's at the depth, I think that there's been a more concerted effort. I think, Matt, you said at the top of this, depth looks better this year than it had in years past. And then as far as Todd, he runs a scheme that requires some specific things from players. And when you get into those depth players, if they can't do those specific things, then the scheme becomes really hard to execute. And what he's his counter has been a lot of blitzing. Mm-hmm. I think there are some opportunities to update that, play to some player strength, change the defense a little bit if you run into those issues.
Yeah, I think that's where some of the issue comes from is I get it. The system is the system. Area, you got to change it up a little bit. I think when you have full starters, full roster, healthy to go, Bowles can still get into his bag and have great games and low scoring games or a few amount of points allowed while the defense is on the field. I think Bowles has a tough time adjusting when he doesn't have his top personnel. And I think a good example is look at the 49ers and all the injuries that they had last year. They were still able to get to the second round of the postseason. They won a road game as well. And they've had as much injuries as the Bucs did last year, if not even more. And of course, there's the whole electrical substation thing. And I think that's where, because you're right, like injuries were big in 2024. We all remember that Kansas City game where like Kate Otten was the star of the show, much to the happiness of yourself. And, even last season with all the injuries, as you mentioned, the O-line and just really like not having Kalijah Cansey on the D-line and the lack of pass rush didn't help in that area as well. And that's what makes this season so exciting because we're going to learn with Bowles. Like, can he put it together once again with presumably a healthy group, and hopefully they're able to sustain that health for all of the season and a majority of it, but hopefully all of it. So I think that's going to be one of the big questions for Todd Bowles this upcoming season, because there's no doubt about it. Like, he has to deliver this year, as do many players on this team. Baker Mayfield, Yaya Diaby. There are many players that have to deliver, and Todd Bowles, while he's not a player, he was a player, won a Super Bowl, but as a coach, he needs to deliver as well. And I think that brings us to this next player who had his ups and downs as a rookie. There's been a lot of frustration this year going into his second season because of more injuries that have come about. And that's second-year corner Benjamin Morrison, who we got to speak to today. He did participate today. Seemed in relatively good spirits for a guy that, as we say with The Office, snip, snap, snip, snap. He's playing, he's not playing, he's practicing, he's not practicing. What do you make of this whole situation with Benjamin Morrison, Josh?
Yeah, I think all parties involved are frustrated. There's a reason he went in the second round and not in the first round. His tape was that of a first-round corner, and there was injury risk associated with him, and specifically like lower body stuff, hips, and now it's gotten to the hamstrings. And I think he's going to be a guy who's going to have a load management plan probably for his entire career. You're not going to see him practicing every single game or practice. He's going to be a guy who they have to be very careful with and monitor closely. And it's unfortunate because I think he started off like his very first answer with, "This is the game I love. This is the game I've been playing since I was 6 years old. All I want is to be out there." But at the same time, we have to be smart. And he complimented the Bucs training staff for putting together a plan. Ultimately, who cares if he's in practice if you want him in the games, right? So if they've got a plan that helps make sure that he gets into the games, which means the depth at corner, which is a real, question mark for this team, is better, then that's all that should matter. So the big thing there, though, is then taking the mental reps, and BMO talked about that, right? Like last year, he said, "I was trying to make every play," and you know what happened is that at a certain point in the season that got taken advantage of, and he allowed some explosives. So he talked about like this year he wants to let the game come to him a little bit more. He was watching Parrish's tape. He was watching Zion's tape. Jamel Dean, he said Dean gave him a lot of pointers in terms of how to be really good in this league. And he was so very complimentary of Jamel Dean and how good Dean is as a corner and things that he could take from that. I thought it was really telling when he said the thing that he took away from Dean was using leverage, using your positioning to win mentally in the rep so that you don't have to take those risks and it allows you to be a better corner. So that's the thing that I worry about is you have to be able to apply those things that you're trying to learn cerebrally. And he does need to practice some to get those reps, because he talked about everything happens so fast. It's live bullets. But I think it's, rather than trying to get him out there quickly to practice, being smart about his plan so that he can play in more games is the right way to go.
Bucs certainly are being very cerebral with, how much they're going to have him play and practice, I guess I should say, and not practice as well. But yeah, I came away from Benjamin Morrison's press conference realizing that he's not woe is me at all by any means by the frustration of not being able to play. He's still got a really positive outlook on everything, which hopefully will help him longer as he hopefully eventually will be able to play a little bit more. We got some video of Benjamin Morrison that we'll play in just a moment. But real quick, it's a good time to talk about PrizePicks. Make sure you download the PrizePicks app. You can do so with the link in our description. It's America's #1 app for daily fantasy sports. I love using PrizePicks. I'm setting up lineups all the time. And setting up lineups is super easy to do. You're just picking more or less in a couple of different player stats. It could be hits, runs, RBIs for baseball. It can be goals, assists, shots on net, plus, minus in the NHL. Of course, when football season gets here, you can have passing yards, rushing yards, receptions, tackles, sacks, and on and on and on. You're just picking more or less. You can use different sports in the same lineup as well. You just got to pick at least 2 teams. So you saw some of my futures picks where I have a lot of Bucs futures lineups. You just got to add in at least another player as well. And to show the variety of all the different sports that PrizePicks has on their app and their account, I actually went with a boxing lineup for this weekend. By the way, use the code HMA when you sign up and you play your first $5 lineup. If you win with that lineup, you'll get $150 in bonus lineup. So pulling up my lineup right now. By the way, came close to my home run lineup yesterday. Ben Rice hit a homer, but unfortunately Freddie Freeman did not. But this boxing lineup I have going on, I got to be honest, I did not realize the Canelo fight wasn't until Halloween. So Canelo Alvarez is not fighting until Halloween. I thought it was this weekend. But the first one I have is Teofimo Lopez. He is fighting this weekend on Saturday against Roland Romero. I have more than 35 minutes and 99 seconds. His fight will go longer than that because you know what? Boxing, there's not a lot of knockouts these days. So I think this one's going to go pretty far. And then Canelo Alvarez fighting on Halloween. So if you put this one in the hopper, you'll have to wait a little bit. But when Halloween comes around, it'll be fun to pay attention to. Canelo against Christian Mabili. Same thing, more than 35 minutes and 99 seconds in the fight. I just think with boxing, like the heavyweights, you'll see knockouts. You just don't see knockouts a lot anymore. Canelo's is one of the best. He's very fun to watch. But I think the fight will go pretty much all the distance. So that's a little boxing lineup if you want to use this 2-pick power play over on PrizePicks. Love using PrizePicks. Make sure you download the app with the code HMA. So shout out to our friends at PrizePicks for their support of Pewter Report and the Pewter Report podcast. So I mentioned Benjamin Morrison a moment ago. Have 2 videos we'll play of him. The first one, just talking about how he's feeling and really the frustration of this kind of starting and stopping all over again.
It's been frustrating not being able to be out here as much as you want.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game I love. A game I grew up playing since I was like 6 years old. When I miss those snaps and those times out here, you just appreciate it more when you come back. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's just you want to do what you love. And when it's taken from you on a consistent basis, it sucks, but it should build character.
What are you dealing with?
I mean, we're just ramping up right now. The team has a great plan for me. So, I mean, the biggest thing is trusting them. And that's what Bobby's been relaying in my ears, just trust the process. So since day one of camp, they've had a very methodical plan laid out for me. Some days you want to do a little more. But, I mean, you got to trust the process, and it got me where I'm at right now, out there feeling great. So just taking it all in, appreciating even more. So yeah.
Benjamin, you're out here.
And then the other one, Benjamin Morrison, with him not playing, I mean, that's more opportunities for Aiden Garnes, who had a pick 6 in the preseason game. Jacob Parrish moved up the ranks a ton, and of course Zion's still there. So is he concerned about all these reps that he's missing?
Yeah, I felt great. That's still TBD. Talking with them, what's the best plan, as we said. I mean, we're taking it day by day. I mean, this is the best I've felt in a while. And they've done a great job with my body. I'm in a great headspace, mental space. I'm just excited for what is to come and just thanking God through it all.
Are you concerned at all about falling behind with everyone else getting reps?
No, not concerned. I mean, just the competitor in you obviously wants to be out there. And like everyone knows, there is a difference from being out there. Those game reps, those flying bullets, you got to make decisions. And you kind of see what you're made of. So I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be at my best at day one, but that's the beauty about the process. And I think that's just what I've been honing in on. Is just I may not be there day one, but eventually I'm going to get there. And I'm going to stay when I get there.
Josh, give us your thoughts about the depth at corner. Again, like Parrish has really just skyrocketed, and his play warrants it as well. Aiden Garn's been one of the big talks about training camp as well. Do you see Morrison as CB3 simply just based on his injury history, or is it at this point where it's like we can't rely on Morrison? We'll make him CB4 and put Garns at CB3.
No, I think Morrison CB3 given health. I think Parrish, even if Morrison was healthy this entire preseason, I think Parrish was the CB2 going in. And you see something similar to what the Bucs ran in their Super Bowl year, where Parrish is the outside corner in base and then moves to the nickel with Morrison coming on in nickel situations. I just think Parrish has, based on his rookie tape and everything else, he has moved into that CB2 spot. And even if Morrison was fully healthy, he was fighting for that third spot. I think they have great depth at nickel. You have so many guys on this secondary that can play nickel, right? So Keontae Scott, Parrish, Tyke, Antoine Winfield Jr., J.J. Roberts, like they are not hurting for nickels. It's that outside corner role that becomes a little dangerous past the top two guys. So with McCollum nursing his own injury, with Morrison going through this, that creates more concern. And yes, Aiden Garns has looked great in coverage. Todd Bowles said it himself after that game, and he's still got to show that he can improve his tackling technique and his targeting and be a reliable player in that regard, or else opposing offenses are going to test him on that and see how many extra yards they can pick up by just forcing him to try and bring somebody down.
Let me ask you this. More concerned with the depth at corner for the Bucs or at the safety position?
At the moment, safety.
More concerned at safety.
Yeah, only because J.J. Roberts is just getting out there for practice this week. He is coming off of a serious, season-ending injury. I'm as high as anybody on Roberts, but you got to show that you can rehab and come back from that and have confidence in your knee. I think it was a knee injury, if I remember correctly, to be able to plant and cut and do all the things that are necessary. So I would say safety I'm a little bit more concerned about than corner at the moment, especially because it does look like Morrison is arrow up.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. I would agree with that too. I do like Melifonwu. I like the size that he brings, but it does feel like if Winfield or Smith are unavailable, it gets a little bit dicey after Melifonwu as well. But the Bucs play on Saturday. However, there are some preseason games going on tonight. I believe Fernando Mendoza and the Raiders are playing. If you want to watch that game, I would suggest going on over to Walk-Ons, where you can eat like a winner and drink like a champ. Walk-Ons has the best deals around, delicious food, awesome happy hour deals, and a big assortment of drinks as well. There's one over in Lakeland, another in Wesley Chapel, and in Midtown Tampa as well. You can go there to tailgate before Bucs games. If you're watching college football, they have a large assortment of TVs to watch all the college football games or NFL games as well, or really any game that you want to watch. So as I said before, eat like a winner and drink like a champ over at Walk-Ons. Reminder for everybody, some scheduling stuff. First of all, big shout out, big thank you to all of our Pewter Platinum members. We appreciate you for your support of Pewter Report and Pewter Report TV. We will have a Pewter Insider tomorrow at 1:30 for Pewter Platinum and Premier members. It'll be myself and Scott Reynolds. We are previewing the Bucs and their plans against the Chiefs in Saturday's preseason game. Looks like the starters are going to play. How much they'll play, that remains to be seen. I wouldn't venture to guess that much. The day of the game on Saturday, we will have a Pewter pregame show. Bucs hosting the Chiefs. That'll be at 9 o'clock a.m. Bucs versus Chiefs. We got Yaya Diaby on the screen there. We imagine Yaya is going to be playing in this game. And then later on in the evening, when the game is done, we'll have a Pewter post-game show recapping everything that we saw from the Bucs versus Chiefs preseason game, where we will see Baker Mayfield and company. So still a lot coming up on PewterReports.com, whether it's the Insider or the pregame show or the postgame show as well. Before we sign off, who says, Josh, is it possible to restructure some contracts to create the cap space to be able to sign Baker, Yaya, and Cody Mauk? I know we talked a little bit about this before, but the restructuring side of things.
Yeah, so mechanically, yes, they can create the cap space. But Craig, I'll just kind of go through it real quick. It's not cap that you have to worry about. It's actual cash spending. The Glazers typically set a budget that the personnel department has to adhere to. There's only so many checks they're willing to write. And I don't think that they have the cash to keep all three. I should say, I don't think they're willing to spend the cash to keep all three. Unless it's the team really does well this year and they feel like they are back in a very small window for the Super Bowl, similar to the Brady years, and they change their spending habits for a small period of time. That would be really the only way that I see that going down.
And then last thing before we sign off, just looking at this preseason game, Josh, what do you want to see from the Bucs starters and any player in particular that you're most excited to watch? Maybe on the offensive side, because we spent a lot of this show talking about the defense, and understandably so with Vita Vea, but anything offensively you're looking for?
Yeah, so I'd love to see the chemistry with Baker and some of these younger receivers, especially with Ted Hurst. Really want to see what Mauk looks like with, out on the field coming back from his injury. But probably the thing I want to see the most, I'm glad you put this pick up, is what does the Zach Robinson offense look like against another team's ones, right? Yeah. There were some cool wrinkles that he kind of showed a little bit in that first preseason game, going to 12 personnel and then going completely empty in the backfield to get some definitive man coverage looks. I'm hoping to see a little bit more of what that offense looks like and what we can expect from him in terms of play design, but also play calls. And are there any tendencies we can start to pick up here early?
Yeah, I want to see them continue what they've been doing in camp over the past couple of days on the offensive side. I mean, that red zone a couple of days ago, Baker was on fire. And we'd love to see a touchdown drive or two when the Bucs hit the field on Saturday night for their game against the Chiefs. Josh Queipo, it's been an absolute blast to have you on the show once again. I always enjoy your company, both in person, like earlier today, and virtually, like this one. So awesome having you on. Just a reminder again, Pewter Insider tomorrow at 1:30, Pewter pregame show Saturday at 9 a.m., and then Pewter postgame show will be later on Saturday night, probably half an hour to an hour after the game is done. If you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is PewterReportTV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video what you think about the Vita Vea deal, what Vita Vea had to say today, anything Benjamin Morrison related, anything Bucs related going into their preseason game with Baker Mayfield, Zach Robinson as well. We'd love to see it. All right, that's it. For Josh Queipo, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We will see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.